So here we are, podcast number 7. That's a long time. I'm Brendan.
I'm
Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Glad you're here. Because without you, it'd just be me and it'd be super boring. So I'm glad you're here. We have had a fun week. Both of us have been doing lots of things. Unfortunately, a lot of those things have not been necessarily riding bikes, but preparing for different biking fun. So, Kevin, maybe a quick recap of a little bit of the fun you've been enjoying this past week, maybe the new addition to your family, and then I'll share a little bit about mine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of questions and a lot of traffic on our website. We're having tons of fun with that, and everybody's getting excited about that. We love your comments, so please keep on sending us those comments. That's been a huge part of our week. The other part of the week, the new addition to my family. I should have put that picture up here, but I'll keep you posted as it goes. The Loam Lander Mobile. It's a 2003 E450 ambulance. Nice. So it's to be my camper mobile office Loam Lander Mobile.
Nice. And cherry red, right?
It's currently cherry red.
Sweet.
Eventually it'll change. No
Nice.
hurry.
It's a good looking ambulance.
Yeah, it's good. It's a fun little project.
Yeah, although the last picture I saw is looking less and less like an ambulance. Just well, I guess it'll never lose the ambulance, but it's lost a lot of its ambulance-istic.
Yeah, it got all the stickers off. That was definitely an adventure.
Yeah.
A lot of labor.
How long did that take?
Altogether, there's probably like 4 of us worked on it at different times. Like even my neighbor came over and helped scratch off the stickers at the same time. I still have the residue on there, so I still have to get the residue off. But to get the stickers off, I probably have 6 hours, 7 hours.
Cow. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I bet you're glad to have that portion done. But that's awesome.
Yes. Tackling the wiring now, so that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, sweet.
But soon there'll be a huge Loam Lander logo on the side. So it'll be a Loam Lander mobile.
That's awesome. That's going to be so cool. I've been working on yard projects here at Loam Lander Land. We're planning our main and really exciting launch of our whole business in the next couple of weeks. And as part of that, I really wanted to get a few projects done here at my house. So I built a retaining wall, or I got 2/3 of a retaining wall done yesterday. I've got a bunch of capstone left to do, and then a huge paver project. And I'm thinking after that we should be pretty much ready to roll. So it's coming along. And anyways, we're just really excited to see it get done. My wife especially is excited to see this project get done because it's been in the plans for a long time. But Loam Lander Land is starting to really come into shape. It's starting to look pretty good.
Nice. I wish I lived closer. I would have been helping out more.
Yeah. Well, there's always pavers that can be dropped later on.
Yeah.
It's cool. No, it's been good. Only a few small injuries. I almost stuck a nail through my finger on Friday, and yesterday I got myself a nice little, finger stuck between a rock and a hard place moment, but it's all good. It's just part of the fun. Okay. So, Kevin, I thought that maybe this week what we could do is start a little bit about who we are in our mountain biking journey. I know each of us have had some unique situations and some things that have kind of brought us to today. So I thought we'd kind of share that with our audience. And then also maybe throughout the course of our conversation, just talk about some of our favorite experiences that we've had or places we've gone as we've been out riding. But why don't you kind of kick off? Maybe share just a little bit about kind of your journey to where you're at right now.
Yeah, so must have been, let me think here. My freshman year, I think, was when I got my first mountain bike. It was a Schwinn Woodlands. Didn't even have a suspension on the front. I eventually put that on there. But it took me to my background. So my background here is Fort Eby on Whidbey Island. The majority of the ride is epic like this. You're just looking at the ocean. They also have the huge trail systems actually further down but it's just a massive area to ride. A little more cross-country oriented, but just an amazing place. You just go there and you look at that view and it just calms you down and relaxes. This was 8 miles from my house, and all our friends would hop on our bikes. We'd ride 8 miles, mountain bike all day, and ride 8 miles home. That was back in our good days in shape and young and all that good stuff. But getting on the mountain bike was kind of like the first freedom. You get on the bike and you're like, oh, yeah, I can go somewhere. I don't stay in the neighborhood. I can go to the next neighborhood quicker. That's what the biking did for us. And so we always had a small group of friends that would run around and rode and hit 40 EB. And that kind of how everything happened. Even when I got my license, I'd still rather ride my bike. So I used to ride my bike to school, even though I had a car. I had an awesome teacher who let me lock my bike up inside her room so that way it wouldn't get stolen.
Yeah. That's a good thing, right?
Shout out to Miss Henderson, Spanish. With that, that's kind of where it all started for me. And one day I decided to enter a cross-country race at Snoqualmie Pass. Actually, it didn't start out that way. A guy I worked with and we drove out there. He's like, let's go mountain biking in Snoqualmie. I heard it's good. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. We go out there and it happened to be a race weekend. So pretty much everything was closed. And we're like, well, let's just do the race. So we signed up for the race and okay. Little kids don't listen to this.
How did you
I didn't
do?
have a helmet.
Oh, no, it's fine.
That wasn't smart. So, but to race, you had to. So I actually rented one of those big white styrofoam helmets. That's all they had left.
Nice.
And my first cross country race, I ended up in 6th place. I was actually really excited for that. And the buddy I rode with was right behind me in 7th. Like we were like next to each other. So that was kind of fun. And that just kind of started the journey from there. From there, I worked in a couple bike shops. Skagit Cycle Center is awesome. Burlington. They also have Anacortes and Oak Harbor. And Gary Santiago has always been great to me, and I worked for him a couple times. I kept on going back because I liked working there so much. K2 Bike, I was fortunate to work inside sales for K2 Bike. An amazing job. Didn't pay anything, but the perks were unreal. And that kind of just brought me everything to here, and there's a gap in the bike world for me. I stayed on a bike. Of course, I still pedaled as an enthusiast, but being in sales or being involved in the bike industry, I took a gap, got married, kids, and now circling back to getting back in it just because it's a passion of love.
It's awesome. It's, it's amazing how many different roads our bikes have taken us on. And it's been a huge journey for you, it sounds like. So I have to ask, you're there, you're at Snoqualmie Pass. You see all these people, you say, okay, I'm going to just jump on this bike and start riding in this race. Were you nervous?
We weren't nervous at all. We were just like, let's just do this, and he had a Ren helmet too. So he had the same dorky white styrofoam helmet. We probably got looked at a lot. But just like the crowd was cheering and let me think, it was 2 13-mile laps, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
A lot of climb because it's a fire road climb up. The downhill was like down. It was almost like a downhill race. It felt like, but I had no suspension. It was brutal, but It was so much fun, and that just kind of got me into it. And even from there, and like is where we're at now, is I always liked introducing new people to cycling. Like, hey, you should go mountain biking with me. I got an extra bike. You should go mountain biking with me. I could borrow another bike. And I always try to get more people into it. And to where I'm at now, I still like to coach. I still like to help. I still like to get people involved. As for my coaching level, is like basic. I can do the basic stuff. Get them involved. From there, you can watch and learn and ride and learn yourself. But it's just kind of just the way I got everything involved. I mean, I think it comes back to my youth coaching. I mean, I've been a youth coach for over 20 years with everything from baseball and basketball and a lot of soccer. And even when I didn't have kids on the team, I was a youth coach. And so now I get to share those experiences, but into mountain biking.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super fun. And, I think next time we're all at a race event, even if we just show up on that day, we should enter it because it makes, can be one of those memories that just goes on forever. It's pretty awesome. Well, cool. My journey's a little bit different. I grew up in the Midwest in Missouri, and there's not a whole lot of mountains for us to mountain bike on. I should have turned the sound off a long time ago. Well, I don't know why I always get messages right in the middle of something.
It's me. No, I'm just kidding.
He's just texting away. I see how it is. Anyway, so I grew up in Missouri, and there isn't a whole lot of mountain biking going on there. There is a lot of mountain biking, but no mountains to mountain bike on. So my first real mountain bike, I guess if it was a real mountain bike, was a Schwinn Frontier, which
that's a step up from the Woodlands.
Was it really?
I think so.
It was a pretty fun bike. Honestly, it was just my full mode of transportation. It took me to the paper route. It took me to my friend's house, and that was it. I rode it a lot. I don't know how many miles I put on it. I was at my parents' house, 2 or 3 years ago, and it was hanging up in the garage. And Cruz looked at it and he said, "That is the ugliest bike I've ever seen." And he wanted to try riding it, and he said it was the worst experience he's ever had. But way back when, it was pretty awesome. I thought it was a pretty rad bike. A few years later, I got a Cannondale F700, which at the time was just a screaming awesome mountain bike. It had a head shock with 50 millimeters of travel, and I don't know if it really even dampened much, but it says it did. Anyway, so I rode that for a long time. It was super fun. And then I took a few years that I didn't ride bikes much. Most of that was during college, and I was too busy hanging out with girls and trying to longboard a little bit, which I was never very good at, but I still thought it was pretty fun. So married, kids, and then all of a sudden, mountain biking makes a reappearance. So this particular picture, it's hard to see, is me, my brothers, and then my best friend, Tommy, going on what I would say my first modern mountain bike ride. This actually happened right before Eric, who's the brother here in the foreground. He was getting married, and he said he wanted to go on a ride. So we all went on a ride, and I was so out of shape. It took me forever to get up that stupid hill. And we rode a trail called bobsled, and bobsled's in Salt Lake City. It's super, super fun. And immediately I had this wow, I really, really dig this, and I want to do this a whole lot more. So convinced Tatum that I needed a bike. She convinced me that if I was going to get a bike, Cruz had to get a bike. And that's how kind of this journey has begun. What I've found kind of interesting when it comes to mountain biking is how my relationships have changed with people. I am what most would call a very, I can be very social in certain situations, or I can be totally fine all by myself. And usually I'm pretty fine being totally quiet all by myself, just doing my own thing. But that's not the case in the mountain biking world, which is totally backwards from what Tatum experiences in most of my interactions. Especially when it's around different friend groups. Once I'm in my friend group, I'm pretty chatty and talkative. But pre that stage, I'm reserved and quiet. And sometimes people will ask, why is he so grumpy? And it's like, I'm not grumpy. I just have nothing to say. But anyway, so mountain biking has opened me up in ways that I never expected to be opened up. It's got my juices flowing when it comes to just understanding how exciting it is to be on a bike, and how exciting it is to experience new things, and the joy that comes of doing a descent that was really hard for the first time, and then by the 20th time realizing that it really wasn't that big a deal, and it was actually pretty easy, but I just didn't know what I was doing or what I was getting myself into. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. I'd say that probably the biggest change that's happened to me personally is just really my relationship with my kids. I never, I haven't been an absent dad at all, but mountain biking has made me a very active dad with my kids, and so that's been super fun to experience. And we've learned new skills. We've learned how to dig trails. We've learned how to build jumps. We've learned how to jump on airbags. We've learned how to do all kinds of fun stuff that mountain biking, without it, maybe we wouldn't have learned these skills. It's been fun. It's been super fun.
I like to see the communication from kids. Like you mentioned, open up. There's a lot of kids that are kind of shy or don't talk too much, and Keller was one of them. But again, mountain biking, they're all around each other. They open up. They talk a lot. It's just a way to communicate all in the same language and have fun and enjoy each other.
Yeah, I find that same uniqueness. Cruz, our oldest, is super like the same. He doesn't, talk a whole lot unless it's his mountain biking friends, and then he's way more open than I have ever imagined he would be. And it's fun. I mean, these kids now have an outlet to give each other a hard time, and an outlet to give each other kudos. It's pretty fun.
Definitely. They definitely push each other.
Yeah. And they also, as our friend group is getting closer together, they also learn all of the buttons to push, right?
Yep.
Which is funny. It's just, it really becomes more of that true family dynamic, where you're like, oh, Cruz, stop being such a butthead, to Keller. And it's time Beckham for you not to bother Jake anymore, because he's done with it too.
Or Keller's a butthead and I tell you to go take care of him.
That's right.
Because he'll listen to you, not me.
It is amazing
or vice
how,
versa, right?
Right. I know it's just amazing how it really becomes that family dynamic. And I don't know if I know you've experienced this because we've talked about this before, but it is it's a different dynamic in this mountain biking world. Just as far as the way people treat and act and enjoy each other's company is different than other I don't know, circles that I've been in.
Yeah. I think it's kind of fun to talk about it this way. Is mountain biking's almost like golf, and that's completely weird, right? But golf I'm not good at, but I can see someone swing and see what they're doing wrong. It does not mean I can do it, but I can see what they're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. And mountain biking is similar. You're hitting a small jump or you're hitting a berm. You're like, hey, you need to go a little higher. You need to lean a little more. You got to compress a little. You can tell them what they need to do. You don't have to know how to do it. You can help each other and coach each other that way.
Right. Yeah. Or at the very least, just be there to either catch them when they fall or give them the kudos when they finally get the nerve to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's super fun. So, Kevin, I've been thinking over the past, little while about some of my favorite mountain biking experiences. Do you have any places that have just kind of stuck out as, wow, this was an amazing spot, amazing day, amazing something? I mean, looking at your background picture, honestly, that to me looks like just one of those places that I would like to pack up right now and just go and ride.
In the summer, that's how it looks every day.
That's beautiful. It's amazing.
We'll go there one of these days. It's mainly cross country, but it's still tons of fun. There's some downhill sections. They're short and just a good place to ride. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to start it. You mentioned favorite experiences, mountain biking, all that stuff. So I'm going to share an experience, but may not be my favorite, but the experience stands out more than others.
Nice.
So it might have been my worst mountain biking experience that stands out. My buddy Kip and I, we entered the Valentine's Day Challenge race. I was still in high school. It was in Port Orchard, I believe. Bremerton, that area, Purdy, somewhere over there. Happens the weekend, either before or after Valentine's Day. It's kind of like the first cross-country race of the year back then. I don't know if they still do it. And it was like the kickoff. We enter the race. So we get there, and I had a 66 Ford Falcon 4-door, and we slept in the front seat and the back seat. It was awesome. I left the trunk open, and it rained all night. That's on me. So we couldn't start a fire because all the wood was wet. Yeah, it was good times. So this race is February and Northwest, and so it's cold.
Wait, hold on just a second. Yeah. It's February in the Pacific Northwest, and you weren't expecting it to rain all night?
No, I expected to. I just accidentally left the trunk open.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to close it.
I got you.
We had food back there. It was interesting. Luckily, I had a drain hole in the trunk, and it literally was like a puddle going out the drain hole.
That's awesome.
But we weren't expecting how cold it was. So we had actually really good cycling gear. But we get there, and it snowed 2 days before, and then it froze, and then it rained, and then it froze, and then it just rained for 3 days. So the race starts. It's just this mud fest. People are muddy before the race even started because they're falling down trying to get to the race start. Just picture going through these 4 to 6 inch deep puddles, but underneath that puddle is a block of ice.
Sweet.
So it's not an exaggeration. There'd be this is like 10 feet long, maybe one of the first puddles. And there's probably 7 riders laying on their butt in the puddle. And that's how the race started. We were soaking wet. We were frozen cold. It snowed on us. It rained on us. It hailed on us all in the same race. I had grip shift back then. They were supposed to be really, really cool. Sweet. Mine actually froze and they could not shift. And I tried so many times. I actually got like ripped open my hand from trying to twist it so many times. It was the only race that I've never finished. And it was literally because my bike could not operate. I don't even know if I'd still finish it. It was horrible. But the experience was great. My buddy Kip and I, we talk about it every time we see each other. I recently saw him after these 13 years I haven't seen him. And I just recently visited him in Eastern Washington. And it was like yesterday. We never forgot anything. It was like we were hanging out every single day. And we still talk about it because it was such an experience. Learned a lot. Closely drunk. But also it was just one of those times that was just great. And then I'm actually going to say the other, just to kind of go to a positive experience, is Whistler. And everybody talks about Whistler, but my Whistler trip that I really liked was when I didn't ride. So Keller and I went so Keller and I went there like a month and a half before the second time I went up there, and tons of fun. We went up there for like 5 days. We got to go again a second time, and this time Rhonda came with me. I happened to get injured at Whistler the first time, so I was still unable to ride. And so Rhonda came up with me. We just actually relaxed and actually got to kind of watch everybody else ride. It sounds kind of funny. And go to the top and look at the views. And she got to experience what I've been trying to push really heavy on her of get out there. And it's more about just being together than it is riding. And it was an amazing experience to look at it that way. I was bummed I couldn't ride, and I wanted to hit the trails, but it wasn't going to happen. I just wasn't able to walk, so I probably shouldn't pedal.
Yeah, probably not.
But that was just a great experience to share with somebody. Keller got to ride with his buddy still, so he did get to go up and down the mountain. But just a different way to look at it. Sometimes you take a step back to enjoy it even more.
Right. Well, and Whistler, all in its own, is beautiful.
Definitely.
Tatum and I have been a couple times just by ourselves, pre-mountain biking craze craze in our house. And we would go just sit at the bottom of the lift and watch people come down. And what's ironic is at that time, I thought, man, that is way too extreme for me. I'd never want to do that much, that style of downhill. And now I crave it every day, and I can't wait for the border to open so that we can go back again.
Yes.
But you're right. I mean, it is that opportunity to sit back and just kind of relax a little bit. Cruz and I were talking about that this week, that he had a couple of rough races, or he felt like they were rough races when we went to Hubapalooza. And we were talking about how sometimes you have to just step back a little bit and relax and recognize where your strengths are, recognize where your weaknesses are, and start, plucking away at those weaknesses. But the more frustrated you get, the worse usually it ends up being. You really have to, chill, and then you can move forward.
When it comes to racing, I've always looked at it as I want to beat myself. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're trying to beat everybody else. But if I know I did a race, you want to race BMX. If I raced that race the best I could and I didn't get a podium or I didn't get the top 5 or whatever, as long as I know that I put my all into it, I always left in a good spot. And that's kind of how I always start races too. And it's one way for me to be less nervous in the top too. When I'm at the top, I don't get the butterflies normally, because I just kind of go into like, okay, I need to do better than I did last time I was there. I want to beat my own time. That's kind of how I look at the racings.
Right. Well, the downside is for you, not for the rest of us, is now you've already hit the pinnacle of your Loam Lander career as a first place racer, and I don't know how you're going to do better. So,
the way I'm doing better is I actually officially retire. So I retired on top.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm see how it works
from racing.
One and done. It's it.
Yeah, done.
That's sweet. That's awesome.
I'm out.
Oh. So I had a similar, not similar, but Whistler was also one of the experiences I want to share. But it was the first time that we actually rode Whistler. It was, let's see, about 3 years ago on a Memorial Day weekend. We had just gotten our big blue van, and I think we'd got it a week before. And we really, really, really wanted to use it. And so we packed it up, and we didn't have it built at all. We had an old convertible bed / bench seat that the previous owner had put in it. And off we went. And our goal was just kind of go up through Canada, go into Vancouver, spend a night, maybe go up to Whistler for a night, and just kind of, see the sights. We were going to bring bikes because that's what we were going to do. But yeah. Anyway, so we went up and we stayed in Vancouver the first night, rode Mount From, did the bobsled trail there. I feel like there's a theme there. If there's a trail called bobsled, you can expect us to be there. It was a really wet day, which is kind of to be expected there in that side of Vancouver. But we had a great time. And so we rode bobsled, and I was telling Tatum, I was like, we should really see what lift ticket prices are for Whistler. I'd really like to go ride it. And Cruz was like, yeah, I want to go ride it. And then for the next 4 hours, all we heard was, did you buy tickets yet? Are we going to Whistler? Yeah. Long story short, we made it to Whistler, and ended up that it was just going to be me and Cruz riding that day. Beckham wasn't feeling it. Oliver wasn't feeling it, and Tatum was okay being with those two. And so off Cruz and I go, and we climb on the chairlift, and we navigate that. A side story, we did, yes, watch several videos about how to get your bike loaded properly on a chairlift, because we weren't going to be those guys that needed to have the lifty help them every time. And of course, our first time up, we almost didn't get both the bikes on the lift, and we were those guys that the lifties had to give a lot of extra special attention to. But it worked out. So we get to the top or I guess the middle, and met this guy on the lift, and he said, "Why don't you take C line for your first route, or crank it up as they call it?" And instantly there was a smile on our faces, and we were just in heaven. And it was just an amazing experience. And I remember very clearly all of those, turns and those jumps that I couldn't hit at all, but just how it felt to just feel like you're flowing so smoothly through these well-built trails. And it was a day that I think I'll always remember as just both an experience that I could spend with Cruz, but then also that 12-year-old coming out in me and just really enjoying a good day of riding. It was just so fun. I've had, many of those style of experiences, just those memory moments over the past several years. We've had them with friends. We talked about Milepost 35 in the past, but that was a super fun day that we spent last year together. We've had them, just as a family. I've had them just as myself. I've even had them with my cross country team that I'm helping to coach this season. Where you just have those moments of clarity where you're just there to either be an assistant or to cheer people on, or to yourself be cheered on, so you can actually do the things that you don't really want to do, but you kind of want to do them. So anyways, it's just kind of a brief little, synopsis of some of the different experiences I've had over the past several years. But yeah, it's just fun. So anyways, I know this podcast is probably a little shorter than our previous ones, but they're going to come and go. Some are going to be long, some will be short. But this is just kind of a brief intro to our journey so far. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're going to talk about some of our industry partners on our next podcast. And we're also going to talk about some of the up and coming bags that are going to be delivered in the next few weeks. But Kevin, I had fun. I'm glad that we could get to know each other a little bit better. I think some of these stories that I heard from you, I've never heard. And I'm going to be now more apt to just join a race on a whim.
I highly recommend it. The stress level is gone. And it's just fun to share to all our listeners and viewers who Loam Lander is. We're not just two guys making airbags. There's a story behind us, why we got here, the journey to get here. And just two passionate people.
Yeah.
Sorry for the head twist.
No, that's good. Well,
my son was there. I shouldn't talk. Damn it.
You're fine. You're fine. Well, till the next one. Thanks for listening. And Loam Lander out.
Enjoy.